Fellow soil enthusiasts, let me share something that completely revolutionized my gardening game, and it involves thousands of tiny workers who never take a coffee break. I'm talking about vermicomposting, the art of turning your kitchen scraps and farm waste into the most incredible soil amendment you've ever seen. When I first discovered this method 5 years ago, I was skeptical. How could worms possibly create something gardeners call black gold? Today, my plants are thriving like never before, and I'm about to show you exactly how to harness this natural magic on your own property. Vermicomposting isn't just composting with a fancy name, it's an entirely different biological process that produces superior results. So traditional composting relies on heat and microbial activity to break down organic matter, but vermicomposting uses specific earthworm species to digest and transform waste into nutrient-rich castings. The result is a soil amendment that's honestly about 7 times more nutrient-dense than regular compost, and contains beneficial microorganisms that help create a thriving ecosystem in your garden beds. What makes vermicompost so special is its immediate availability to plants. Unlike traditional compost that needs time to break down further in soil, worm castings are already in, the perfect form for plant uptake. Think of earthworms as nature's ultimate recycling system. They consume organic waste, and their digestive process creates a slow-release fertilizer that's, well, impossible to overdose and won't burn your plants. Creating your worm farm doesn't require expensive equipment or complicated setups. I started with a simple plastic storage bin, and it worked beautifully for my first year. The key is understanding that worms need 3 basic conditions: proper moisture, adequate ventilation, and the right temperature range. Your container should be shallow rather than deep. Worms naturally feed near the surface, so a bin that's 8 to 12 inches deep works perfectly. Drill holes every few inches around the sides for airflow and several drainage holes in the bottom. I learned this lesson the hard way when my first bin became a soggy mess that sent my worms looking for higher ground. For bedding, shredded newspaper cardboard or coconut coir creates the perfect environment. Avoid glossy paper or anything with heavy inks. The bedding should feel like a wrung-out sponge, moist but not dripping. I add about 4 to 6 inches of bedding to start, creating cozy accommodations for my new workforce. Not all worms are created equal for composting. Red wigglers, also known as Eisenia fetida, are the champions of vermicomposting because they reproduce quickly, tolerate confined spaces, and have voracious appetites. European nightcrawlers work well too, but red wigglers are your best bet for consistent results. Start with about 1 pound of worms for every square foot of surface area in your bin. I know that sounds like a lot, but these little workers multiply fast when they're happy. Temperature control is crucial. Worms thrive between 55 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. During summer heat, I move my bins to a shaded area or even into my garage. In winter, insulation or moving them to a protected space keeps them active. Frozen worms are dead worms, and dead worms don't make compost. Here's where vermicomposting gets exciting. Almost all your kitchen scraps can become worm food. Fruit and vegetable peels, coffee grounds, tea bags. Just remember to remove the staples, crushed eggshells, and even paper napkins. Keep your worms happy and productive. I keep a small container on my kitchen counter specifically for worm food, and it's amazing how much waste gets diverted from the trash. The key is balance and preparation. Chop larger scraps into smaller pieces. Your worms don't have teeth, so they appreciate the help. Bury food scraps under the bedding to prevent fruit flies and odors. I learned to avoid citrus peels, onions, garlic, dairy, and meat, which can create acidic conditions or attract unwanted pests. Feeding frequency depends on your worm population and bin size. I typically add scraps twice a week, but honestly, the real indicator is just monitoring what remains from previous feedings. If food is piling up, it's best to slow down. But if everything disappears quickly, your worms are definitely ready for more. After 3 to 4 months, you'll notice your bedding has transformed into rich, dark, crumbly material that smells earthy and clean. This is your vermicompost and it's finally time for harvest. I use the light method. Spreading the contents in bright light causes worms to burrow down, which lets me scrape finished compost from the top. Another effective method involves creating separate piles and adding fresh food to only one side. Over about a week, most worms migrate to the food source, leaving clean compost on the other side. It takes a bit of patience, but the results are totally worth it. Fresh vermicompost can be used immediately. There's no curing period needed. I mix it directly into potting soil, side dress established plants, or create compost tea by steeping a handful in water overnight. The beauty of vermicomposting lies in its scalability and consistency. I now run 3 bins in rotation, harvesting finished compost every month while maintaining continuous production. This system provides steady amendment for my entire garden throughout the growing season. Monitoring moisture levels ensures optimal conditions. The contents should feel like a wrung-out sponge consistently. Too dry and decomposition slows dramatically. Too wet and anaerobic conditions create odors and potentially kill your worms. Keep detailed records of what you feed your worms and how they respond. I discovered that my worms absolutely love coffee grounds, but struggle with too many citrus scraps. Every worm population has preferences, and understanding yours improves results significantly. Even experienced vermicomposters encounter challenges. Fruit flies usually indicate overfeeding or improper burial of scraps. Simply reduce feeding frequency and make sure all food gets covered with bedding. Unpleasant odors signal anaerobic conditions. Just add dry bedding and improve airflow. Hey there, if you notice your worms trying to make a run for it, don't panic. Just take a moment to check on the temperature, moisture, and pH levels in their environment. Happy worms are homebodies. They love to stay put and reproduce. But if they're trying to escape, it means they're stressed, and addressing their concerns quickly can help prevent any losses in your worm population. Vermicomposting, it's really something special. It transforms both your waste stream and your garden's health in ways you might not have imagined. This sustainable practice can reduce your household waste by a whopping 30%, all while creating the finest soil amendment available. Your plants will thank you with stronger growth, better disease resistance, and oh yes, more abundant harvests. So, are you ready to start your own vermicomposting journey? Remember to subscribe to Soil Sensei for more of those game-changing garden tips. And hey, don't forget to share this article with fellow gardeners who are ready to turn their waste into gardening gold. Your soil and your plants will absolutely thank you for making this natural transformation part of your growing routine.